Hello, and welcome to Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am your host, John Rothman. If you're a fan of the show, make sure to hit the follow button on the top right of Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you're listening at this very moment. When you hit follow, leave a review or share an episode with a friend. It helps other people discover the show, keeps us going. As I like to point out each and every day, it expands our base. We have a lot to talk about this morning, but I want to begin with Mike Pence. I listened to his interview last night on CNN with Caitlin Collins. I was not particularly impressed by the interview, but I was impressed by the reason that Mike Pence won, deservedly so, the Profile and Courage Award from the John F. Kennedy Library. And it brought me back to January 6th because I don't agree with Mike Pence on, virtually anything. And as I listened to him in the interview last night, I understood why I'd never vote for him. But for every individual, there may be a moment when they stand up and do the right thing. And Mike Pence was given his award because of what he did on January 6th, or rather, what he refused to do. In his autobiography, So Help Me God, Mike Pence writes the following. On January 6th, I was not afraid, but I was angry. I was angry at what I saw, how it desecrated the seat of our democracy and dishonored the patriotism of millions of our supporters who would never do such a thing, here or anywhere else. To see fellow Americans ransacking the Capitol filled me with a simmering indignation and the thought, not here, not this, not in America. That's why Mike Pence was honored by the John F. Kennedy Library. He wasn't honored for his political stances on a variety of issues, but he was honored for having a moment of clarity and a moment when he stood tall. So the lesson of Mike Pence is that there are people on the right in the Republican Party who still understand the meaning of American democracy. I begin with that because I want all of us to appreciate and understand why a Mike Pence would be honored by the John F. Kennedy Library. On January 6th, Mike Pence was a profile in courage. But I want to talk about some other issues which seem to me to be quite critical. First of all, Pete Hegseth, who ordered a 20% cut of top generals and admirals. If you're a four-star, he said, maybe it's time for you to go. And so he's issued a directive, 20% cut of top generals and admirals. I want you to stop and think about that. These are people in whom we have invested years and dollars and belief that our military would run more effectively with these people involved. It is using a butcher knife to eradicate political opposition in the military. Remember that Donald Trump will never forgive the military for standing up to him after January 6th. Do you remember? Do you remember that the military declared absolutely that they would not interfere in the election process? There is something going on in government now which disturbs me. It is a purge. And a purge, when it comes to government, may have some positive upsides, but the word purge connotes to me a lot of negatives as well. The elimination of good people, whether it is admirals and generals, or people who work in Social Security, or people who work in NOAA, or people who work for all of the federal agencies that are now being cut, I think we should be concerned. When all of this is over, we will have to rebuild. We'll have to rebuild an infrastructure that we've trained and invested in for years. And that, my friends, should concern every American. And then a dinner held at Mar-a-Lago. The cost of the dinner, if you chose to attend, $1.5 million per plate. And it all has to do with cryptocurrency. That's what it has to do with. And the fact that Donald Trump, who resolutely opposed cryptocurrency, is now its greatest advocate. And the fact that his children are deeply involved in cryptocurrency. This, to me, is a breach of ethics that is almost beyond comprehension. A president and a president's family should have no interest in making money during the time that their parent or friend or associate is in government. Let me be clear. Eric Trump, the president's son, and Donald Trump Jr. are making millions on something called the executive branch. It is a new club in Washington, D.C., with branches in a number of other cities around the world. To join the executive club, which theoretically would give you advantage of access, there is a $500,000 fee to join. $500,000 to join. Do you think people are shelling out $500,000 out of the goodness of their heart? No, it's for access. The corruption in the Trump administration is so vast, so complete, so thorough, that all of us should be profoundly disturbed. And I would be remiss if I did not point out that this corruption extends to policy. Harvard University. Well, let me be clear. The Trump administration announced yesterday that no one gets new grants unless they conform to what Donald Trump wants. His policies. This is an infringement of academic freedom and an infringement on our right to do research and think, and, well, it's a disgrace. And again, I believe a corruption. And finally, let me talk about what is going to happen on June 14th. There will be a military parade in Washington to commemorate the birthday of the Army. It's also, coincidentally, Donald Trump's birthday. And coincidentally, if you will, Donald Trump, who has witnessed these massive military parades, well, he wants one for himself. And that's what's happening. Dwight Eisenhower once observed that we are not like the Soviet Union. We do not need to have military parades in our capital in order to demonstrate our power. But this military parade is, to me, again, an example of ego by Donald Trump. It's not a tribute to the Army. It's not a tribute to our military. It is a tribute to Donald Trump. This is, again, a disgrace. And when those tanks rumble through the streets of Washington and those jets fly overhead, and, well, who knows what damage will be done to the roads in Washington because of those heavy tanks, I just think it's wrong. And yet there is no restraint on this executive. None at all. And that, my friends, is what concerns me. His debasing the Constitution is the ultimate tragedy. But all of these corollary moments make me more and more concerned about the future of our country. Don't you share that concern as well? We all should. And now it's up to the courts and the people to put the brakes on. Let's hope that that's what happens. Thanks for tuning into another episode of Around the Political World with John Rothman. I am John Rothman. Make sure to follow along. Let me know your thoughts on the show by leaving a review on Apple Podcasts and sharing an episode with a friend or colleague so we can continue to grow and expand, which, of course, is our goal. And you can interact with me, as many of you do, on Facebook, on LinkedIn, and, of course, by emailing me. I'm always delighted by the interaction. And now, to Go-Go Zoger, the wonderful producer of this podcast, Go-Go, thanks a million for everything you do every day. I am John Rothman, and you are listening to Around the Political World with John Rothman. We'll be back tomorrow.